Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is your bonus right angle lightning round. All right, so for those of you who are new here, here's the drill. Instead of going deeply into one serious topic, I grab a bunch of headlines, smaller stories, sillier stories sometimes, that might not be worth an entire segment, but are nonetheless worth bugging Bill and Scott with anyway, or at least I think so. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. And this week, we are going to start with Bill. American Airlines passengers in shock as traveler takes emotional support horse on the flight. Now, keep in mind, this is one of those miniature horses that are actually, too small for probably my 9-year-old even to ride. But where does this stop?
I saw the story, and I saw the story yesterday. And funny, I was thinking about it. I think I was thinking about it on the way into work today. I said, now I assumed that it was a real size, like a big horse, not just like a little horse. But I assumed it was a big horse. And I remember thinking very clearly that if I'd been on board an airplane and somebody brought an actual horse on board, like a big horse, I would not ride on that flight. I'm relatively certain that horses did not evolve in order to handle turbulence well. And I'm concerned that an animal that large, which is sometimes prone to panic, no matter how well trusted they are or how important they are to the person on board, and not only would the idea of a horse running down the aisle be an experience I'd prefer to watch on TV than experience firsthand, I'm also concerned about things like, aircraft center of gravity. But in any event, a stampeding horse in a pressurized tube is not exactly what I would consider to be, recreation. Now, those are serious concerns. And when I saw that the horse was maybe half the size of a real horse.
No, it's like 18 inches.
Oh, yeah, This is.
My concerns were lessened by the scale of the horse. So if it turns out that this was a 30% scale horse, then my initial concerns are also 30% of what they used to be. But nevertheless, seriously, I don't. God knows I've got my share of mental illness, but if you are the kind of person where you cannot fly without your horse, you probably shouldn't be flying, I mean, I'm serious about that. It's kind of like this thing where it's like if people are so. Sometimes you see people say, "Well, if I don't have this, I'm going to just go to pieces." It's like maybe you should be addressing the go to pieces thing.
Steve,
Bill,
I just decided, by the way,
yeah.
I'm going to create a T-shirt that says, "I have a phobia of your emotional support animal."
Perfect. I just sign me up for two of those.
Triggers
I
me.
need
Your
a small and
emotional
a medium.
support animal triggers me.
That's right.
Bill, you
That was the name of the horse, by the way. Triggered.
Triggered. Bill, you reminded me of just a tiny little joke on one of my all-time favorite movies of wasted youth. It's called The Commitments. Came out in, I think, 1991.
Love it.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's this great scene. It's set in Dublin. And the band manager is trying to find one of the band members who's been slacking at rehearsals and shows up at the giant housing project where she lives. And the only elevator in this housing project is a freight elevator. And there's a boy, probably about 12 years old, in the freight elevator with a horse. The guy looks at the kid, and the kid says, "What? The stairs had killed him." Just. I love that movie, The Commitments. You gotta pick up a copy of that if you haven't seen it. Oh, it really is. All right, Scott, over to you. Tesla owners are complaining that they were locked out of their cars and left stranded after the app that they use instead of a key stopped working. I love my phone. I love the whole app economy, but they're not a substitute for everything, are they?
All I have to say after my experience last week is cry me a river.
What happened?
I locked my key in my car, in my truck. So I have a 19-year-old pickup truck that I drove that it was given to me. It was in such bad shape. The guy who had been, it was given to him. He gave it to me because he couldn't fix it up. And so I've got it roadworthy. Anyway, we were going to a football game last week, and I had to change clothes at work to get ready for the game. So I broke my normal habitual pattern. I always do everything by habit, you know, of these minor things in my life. So as soon as I break my pattern, though, it's complete chaos. And I found out the next day when I took my work shirt and hooked it on the little hook in the back of the truck, the key must have been in my hand, and I threw it into the back area of the cab and didn't know where it was. Oh, no. And then I accidentally closed the door without the key. I don't have another key to that truck. When I got the truck, there was only one key to it. So I think that this is part of the human condition. And the crybaby Tesla owners who are like, oh, my app didn't get me into the car. It's like, suck it up. I've been, people lock their normal keys in their car or forget where their keys are or whatever. It just happens. I'm sure there's a way to hack the software to get the car open so you can get in there, which is not a benefit I had. I had to call somebody who then uses like it was like a sphygmomanometer or something like that to wedge it in the window and inflate it so that they can get their hand in there and unlock
whatever happened
the
just
door.
a good old-fashioned Slim Jim?
Well, I wasn't there when they did it because I had to go to work, obviously not wearing my normal shoes, my belt. I didn't have my briefcase. I didn't have anything. It was all locked in the car. Shut up.
I would just like to say that that this presents some interesting storytelling devices because people who are younger people today have no memory of the young. So now the murderer is chasing you, right? You can't get into a car anymore and go young because they just like boom, they just start. So now it can be like, come on, denied, come on.
My fingerprint reader is not working.
Actually,
a little bit to help.
A pretty good example of that was the movie Cellular. It came out 16, 17 years ago now, I think. It was before smartphones. But the whole premise of the movie is the woman's been kidnapped, and she manages to make a phone call by piecing together this broken phone, and she can't dial a number on purpose because the keyboard is smashed, and she winds up calling the guy who played Captain America on his cell phone just from random dialing, and then the movie spends 90 minutes with everything that could possibly go wrong with a cell phone connection going wrong. It was a lot of fun. It was a silly premise, but anytime you get to watch Kim Basinger for 90 minutes, it's probably okay. All right, Bill, over to you. Plant-based fast food, like these Miracle Burgers or whatever they call them, isn't any healthier than the real thing. Shouldn't that be the nail on the coffin of all this fake meat crap?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go a little bit. Let me just say this: I'm not. I don't eat mushroom burgers or any of that stuff. So, but I'll tell you what I do find interesting. If it was possible, and I'm not saying it is, but if it was possible to create a steak out of vegetable matter that was indistinguishable from steak, I'd be very happy about that. But I'd be happy if I could fly to work on my own little jetpack too, but that's not happened yet either. Was it, I don't know, I heard some comedian basically say this is a one-way street. There's all these, this is a soy burger. It tastes just like a hamburger. And this is this is, here we've managed to take celery and make it taste exactly like a T-bone steak. And he's like, Jim Gaffigan, you don't see hamburgers, trying to pass themselves off as soy cubes, it just doesn't work that way. So I'm not crazy about the idea of having to kill animals for food, but then again, they're delicious and there you go.
They're made out of meat.
So they're made out. It's kind of all the reason you need, right? I mean,
My brother said years ago, and I forget where he got this from. He's like, if God didn't intend for us to eat animals, why did he make them out of meat?
That's exactly
Perfect.
right.
There you go. And now I'm repeating Scott's brother's old jokes. So clearly I'm way behind the times here. Scott, let's wrap up with you. New York Times blames sexism for failure of Christine Gillibrand. long a champion of women, it reminds us in the headline. And, this is just a couple of election cycles after Hillary supporters were being branded as racist for not supporting Barack Obama in the 2008 primaries. So, Scott, I guess my question to you is there really any benefit to being a Democratic voter? Shouldn't you just quit doing that?
So she's out of the race because she was a woman? Is that what they're saying?
Because of sexism. Yeah.
Okay. By the way, this gives me just an opportunity to use something I wasn't going to be able to use previously. The president tweeted out after the news broke about Senator Gillibrand's dropping out of the presidential race. A sad day for the Democrats. Kirsten Gillibrand has dropped out of the presidential primary. I'm glad they never found out that she was the one I was really afraid of.
Did he really say that?
Yes.
Troll level grand master. It's up there with the one he did to Iran on Friday.
It's that I found was the also somebody discovered that the you know how a website will produce a page if you try to go to a page that doesn't exist on the website. It'll produce like this 303 or 404 error page. Yeah, it's a 404 error page. Well, apparently the Trump 2020 campaign's 404 error page shows a picture of Hillary Clinton and says, "You're looking for something that doesn't exist." And it's a picture of Hillary Clinton as president or something.
That's just absolutely genius.
Anyway, yeah, it's sad. You know when feminism will have triumphed, when women will really have these rights that the feminists claim that they don't have. When Kirsten Gillibrand drops out of the race and people begin to rain insults on her because she was a loser candidate who never should have gotten into the race in the first place, and it's about time she got the heck out of there. She was just sucking up resources that could have gone to other better candidates. What kind of arrogance does it take for her to think that she's a legitimate candidate for president of the United States? That's when feminism will have triumphed, because we will treat her just like we would treat anybody else. It doesn't matter who you are. If you get into the presidential race as a vanity project, you should be roundly mocked and criticized when you drop out. Or at the very least, people should say, well, thank you, Senator Gillibrand, for getting the heck out of the way in your fruitless, quixotic quest for the White House.
Oh, my. I got to end on just a slightly more serious note. I came across this on Twitter yesterday. Forget the Amazon hype. Forest fires globally have declined 25% since 2003, thanks to economic growth. That's right. I had a reader point this out to me years ago when I was writing about something having to do with the environment or climate change. And this reader pointed out that protecting the environment, which I'm very much in favor of, this is a beautiful planet, and I would like to leave it prettier than it was when I was born here, and that is, it's a luxury good. Poor societies dump a lot of waste because they can't afford to do anything else. They pollute a lot in the skies because they can't afford to do anything else. If you want clean water, if you want clean air, if you want to have the money to pay the people to clean the scrub out of the forest, you've got to generate wealth, and you've got to generate lots of it. So I'm not surprised by this headline at all. I was a little surprised to see it on Twitter, but who knows? Sometimes they let the good stuff slip through. But they're working on it. And that is your right angle on that. This has been your lightning round. And just remember, content like this needs sponsors like you. So if you want to be one of our citizen producers, please click over to BillWhittle.com. Become a member. We would love to have you on board. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.